Warning! The following Yale Club podcast episode explores themes that some listeners may find triggering. Mentions of pandemic healthcare settings and medical treatment of critically ill patients are included. Listener discretion is advised.
Take it away, Bobby. Bobby's the bass player in my head. He looks great. He's got a turtleneck. Oh, yeah. I don't think he's ever washed it because it just looks perfect. The sunglasses in a nightclub. Can you even see anything, Bobby? It doesn't matter. He's just boom, boom, meow, meow, you know? I kind of wish that this song in the back wasn't fading out right now. Because it gives way to what I'm going to be talking about in this episode. But first of all, welcome to this week's episode of the Yale Club, episode 3. Let's go. I'm not sure how long this episode will be at this time, but what I do know is that I have a lot to say. And cut for a second, this is Al from the future to let you know that this episode will end up being part 1. So expect part 2 next week. And without further ado, I give you present Al or past Al. Ooh, pastel. Pastel. Sounds kind of French. Ooh, Monsieur Pastel. Comment allez-vous aujourd'hui? Ça va bien, monsieur? Ça va bien, merci beaucoup. Anyway, I don't know any fucking French other than like that. And je m'appelle Dickhead. Okay, I will leave you alone and you can go ahead and listen to the rest of the episode. I love you. Goodbye. This episode is all about my experience as a human in working in the COVID ICU and also as a human experiencing life in March of 2020 all the way through, well, now. So I've made some notes just so I don't forget some stuff. And we're just going to go through this and it'll be fine. Wishful thinking, my guy. All right, we'll start at the beginning. It was March 3rd, 2020, a Tuesday, and I was off from work. My ex-wife was the best at making shopping lists, and I had a detail list for a trip to Costco. I never go to Costco alone, perhaps, I don't know, because I like knowing that there's stuff I might be forgetting and that there will be someone there that will remember for me. I don't know what that's all about or where that comes from, but I don't know. Maybe I'll unpack it later. A part of me still feels like Costco is too big of a place. I feel like I am unnoticeable in there. I mean, I normally feel unnoticeable. That is just a narrative for myself. But at Costco, though, that place is massive. And I don't know, I felt like I might end up wandering around, get lost behind a wall of pallets, never to be found again. And then I have to create a little, I don't know, castle back there with a bunch of cardboard boxes. That would be kind of cool. I would be known as the Costco guy. Have you ever seen that Costco monkey? No, not the Costco monkey, the IKEA monkey. He's wearing some sort of like really like wintry jacket. I don't know why or where this monkey came from or if he's real or not. But if you ever look at the back of a dog, hear me out. If you ever look at a dog's butt, and the shades of the color of the dog are kind of like my dog, where he's kind of, you know, golden or brown, to call it something. Look at their butt. If they have short hair, it works better. And then look at look at a picture of the IKEA monkey, and then look at the butt of a dog, and they look very much the same. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, I like company at Costco. I don't like being there by myself. At the end of my list was toilet paper and paper towels. I thought I was saving those two for last. In my head, maybe I thought I hadn't passed them yet, but no, I just couldn't see them anywhere. After doing the whole perimeter walk, I finally asked a Costco employee to point me in the direction, and instead he replied with the words that would mark the beginning of my pandemic journey. He said, "We've been out for days. COVID is here." And he didn't even say it with that enthusiasm or with any really, he just kind of said it. "We've been out for days. COVID's here." Like, COVID's here. Like, what? How is that normal? How is that something that you just like blurt out? can't you just say like, dude, like things are actually kind of shitty. It's like COVID now. Like everything's kind of just disappearing and people are kind of freaking out. I mean, obviously he's a Costco guy, employee, and he's not going to go there with me. He doesn't know me. He doesn't owe me shit. But here I am complaining about how he wasn't, I don't know, customer service enough to tell me in the words that I wanted to hear that we were having a pandemic. Yeah, kind of selfish of me. Anyway, yeah, he said that. It was the first time in a long time, perhaps, that stuff I heard on the news about people hoarding toilet paper became an actual reality for me. I thought I was in a pretty busy part of Arizona and Costco, of all stores, would have its shit together. Nothing ever runs out of Costco. I feel like Costco not having any paper products was a big deal, and apparently my indication that life was about to be pretty different. What was I gonna do? Go to Target and find no paper products again? We still had some stuff left at the house, so we were good maybe for a couple of weeks. I thought I had enough time to figure it out. It wasn't a big deal at the time. On my way to the register, I get a bag of popcorn, the size of one of those anime girlfriend pillows. You know that one dude in Korea that married a pillow, but it's not just any pillow. It's like a pillow with a girlfriend's face on it. And then it's not just a girlfriend. It's an anime character. I don't know the names. I don't know who the character is. But it's definitely, you know, very probably voluptuous or big anime titty lady, as is tradition to call it. But anyway, yeah, tangent time, I guess. We're like, fuck COVID for a second. This guy actually married a fucking body pillow with an anime character on it. Was she hot? What does he like do to it? Or her? Are we calling it her? What if the pillow cover is dirty? Do you just like take it off and put your wife in the fucking laundry basket? Or does he, wait a minute, he fucking showers with it, right? I mean, that's how you would wash her. He just lathers up his anime girlfriend, his wife in the shower. He grabs a little Tide Pod maybe and then squeezes it with a strong fist. And then he makes eye contact with the always smiling wife and lets the Tide Pod juices just drip slowly from his grip. Oh my God. Like the control he's losing as his chubberino just gets, okay, I'll stop. This sounds like I'm narrating a shit anime porno. Is this a shit anime porno podcast? It has a name, right? Was it hentai? Yeah. Dude, I ask as if I don't fucking know. I know weird shit, dude. I spend too much time on my phone. Actually, the other day, my phone just told me I spent a fuck ton of hours of screen time. But to know that some of that screen time comes from me looking up a Korean dude that married an anime character pillow, that's something that I'm actually very proud of. And that's just how it's gonna be. Okay, back to the story. I get the bag of popcorn and I go to check out. This popcorn will be important later on, I think. I'm driving home, car full of Costco. I text a friend about the issue of no paper products. They ask how things are going with the wife. We chat more about how things were actually pretty bad. And I'll share more about my marriage at some point, perhaps. I get home, wife is home. I don't remember what we talked about or what was going on in our heads at the time, but I do know that I had already been feeling really, really heavy in my heart, I guess, that day from just relationship issues. COVID wasn't really real for me yet. It was all just how my relationship was going to shit. I had already tried to leave that marriage in December, I think, and it didn't go through the whole way. I ended up staying, but then in March 2020, that's when I left. That same day, coming back from Costco. So I just remember that March 3rd, again, was the day I found three things. Number one, COVID was in town. Number two, I was leaving my wife. And number three, all the shit I owned were in garbage bags and I had nowhere to stay. I guess not three things, four things, if you're including the garbage bags being number three and not having a place to stay as number four. But I wanted to group them together so that they could be friends because, I don't know, I feel like garbage likes company. And anyway, this doesn't matter. I grabbed my garbage bags, my laptop so I could work on some stupid fucking bachelor's classes online, and my massive Costco bag of popcorn. See, I told you I would come back to this. But, it wasn't on the fucking shopping list. It was mine. She kept everything else I bought that day, but not my fucking popcorn. A few days later, we had our first case in the emergency room at my hospital. In the cardiovascular intensive care unit where I worked, rumors went around. Nobody really knew how that patient in the ER was doing. There was no communication from management, no emails, no alerts, nothing. I think the silence was obviously intentional. They didn't want to make assumptions or to put staff on high alert and stress the fuck out of us when it was just one patient. I held on to the belief that I was in the cardiac side of things. COVID is a respiratory issue. I'm taking care of open heart surgery patients. I'm still in training. I'm only 3 months out of orientation at that time. I'm lined up to be educated on how to take care of more complicated cases that require all the equipment that my fucking brilliant preceptors would use. I was so eager to get that learning, to finally feel like a fucking badass nurse. I was too new still and just uncomfortable. And if you've ever been a new nurse, you know how that feels. I was so ready to just break through that insecurity and stress of being new and to actually feel like I know what I'm doing. I knew that I could eventually take care of a really complicated patient, but all of those thoughts just had to be put on the side. And they've been put on the side since then. I still haven't completed my cardiac ICU training. And I don't think that I will now that I'm back in school and it's for something totally, completely different. Good. It's a good point right there to start thinking, did I go to school for something completely different out of a response of feeling inadequate? Like, hey, you gave up on something and now you're running away from it and you're going to do what? Psych NP? See how my brain works? I blame my shit for things that weren't my fault. And if that's not the narrative of someone that people pleases all the fucking time, I don't know what is. A week must have gone by after this whole thing with the one patient in the ER. Co-workers were making jokes about COVID. We had a mask policy now. Some of them were calling the virus all the names that Trump was calling it. Mind you, in the time between March 13th and the middle of September of 2020, Trump used the expressions, quote, China virus, end quote, or quote, China plague, end quote, a total of 319 times in public. Something we didn't know, many of us at the time, that this use of racially charged descriptions was starting to fuel racial hatred, and it would become a painful and dangerous rhetoric. Trump's message would paint China as an enemy. He even insinuated that COVID must have been a violent response from China due to his strict trade policies that harm the Chinese economy. I mean, to think of a man, fucking Trump, just so full of himself, thinking that, oh, I fucked over China because I have to prove that I'm America first and America's dick is bigger than anybody else's. So I'm going to make some strict trade policies and fuck them, right? Like, I get that you could do that, but a response that would be grabbing a vial of fucking COVID from a lab and putting it out into the American public, thinking that it's all about us when it wasn't even fucking in America first to begin with. It was like in Europe. And it's just so like, oh, this must be about us. This must be about America because they hate us. No, dude, fuck you. You're full of yourself. Anyway, carrying on, Trump can eat a dick. And I approve this message. We started seeing COVID rule-out patients getting admitted to the hospital. At shift change during huddle, an interim manager would tell us of a new COVID ICU, and this unit was being opened far from the cardiac and neuro ICUs where we worked. It was a small 8-bed wing that was converted to have the negative pressure systems, you know, those fans that blow the air out of the room instead of back into the hallways. And that would be the unit that we would use if we ever needed the rooms, if we ever had a COVID admit. Fast forward fucking 3 days. This really cool travel nurse from Florida and a staff nurse who actually said one time that I looked like one of her she said that I looked like one of her best friend's ex-boyfriend who is dead. She got teary-eyed when she was in front of me because she felt like maybe I was channeling his energy. We may have carried ourselves in similar ways. And it was weird for me, but probably really heavy for her. Anyway, this staff nurse and that really cool travel nurse in Florida, they were the first to float. They were our first nurses to take care of COVID ICU patients. The staff nurse had volunteered to float there. I thought that was so fucking brave. The travel nurse from Florida, well, if you know anything about travel nurses, they're the first to float anywhere. So they went together. At the end of our night shift, they would come back to our unit and say how we didn't have our shit together there. There were actual gaps where the floor meets the sliding door to the rooms. Apparently, we didn't have the appropriate PPE either. I heard our travel nurse say, "Oh, I'm for sure gonna get it. I'm for sure gonna get it." She looked so concerned. She's thinking, I'm a travel nurse. I never fucking knew that I was going to be in Arizona, so far away from my family, when this shit hit the fan. And now I'm the first one to float to the COVID unit. And I can't imagine what must have been going through her head. She probably felt like, I don't know, like a survivor of like a nuclear reaction meltdown or some shit. She's like, well, I'm fine right now, but I know that I'm gonna fucking die of cancer in like 3 years. Like, something about the way that she expressed herself was different. She was concerned, she was afraid, she was pissed. And I thought, well, she would probably be fine. She's young, she appears healthy, but if I get it, if I ever get floated there and I come back saying, oh, I for sure have it, I would probably just know that I'm gonna die. I thought, how do I fly under the radar and somehow keep coming to work and just carry on with the cardiac ICU stuff? How do I avoid going there? I'm too chicken shit to go. I don't even believe myself that I'm good enough for the cardiac ICU. What makes me think I'm gonna be fine wearing a fucking space helmet, taking care of a COVID patient that might give it to me, and then we're both dying next to each other? I was actually just fucking afraid, and I didn't want to deal with it. I had enough on my fucking plate. I was going through a divorce. I had a few days off right after that. Signs were being placed everywhere in town. All the stores had new pieces of paper taped to their storefront about needing to wear a mask, about keeping distance, you know, the whole keep 6 feet away from each other, and all sorts of warnings. It just didn't look like you were walking into, I don't know, the grocery store. It totally looked like you were walking into, I don't know, maybe laser tag, and it's just a sign saying, do not shoot each other in the eye, you can cause some blindness. Do not hit each other with the back of your guns. Do they even do that at laser tag? I actually have never been to laser tag as an adult. I only went once, and it was in Peru, and it was overpriced because it was the next best thing, but it died, just like all my dreams. Anyway, all those signs just reminded me of zombie movies where you see the remnants of what civilization was like before everything went to hell. I thought I was living some sort of pre-apocalypse, end of the world type of shit, but somehow with the Starbucks drive-thru still open. Very interesting. On my days off, I would hang out at my friend's house where I was crashing post-separation. I would sit and watch Tiger King with my friend while I did schoolwork. During the day, I had my inflatable mattress that would deflate mid-sleep. A bottle of melatonin gummies, and that was my nightstand at the same time because I could put my phone on top of it. Man, that was some rough times. And the only other thing I had was the garbage bags, all the garbage bags with my clothes in them. It was somewhat of a analogy, like a poetic analogy even. I was sleeping on the floor next to a bunch of garbage bags, and I was just one more of them, a pile of human garbage.
I'm the trash man.
A deserter of marriage, now going through this pandemic virtually alone in Arizona. That felt great. After enough Tiger King episodes and stuffed crust pizza nights at my friend's house, I was back at work. The huddle room did not have a single travel nurse, and the staff nurse who would always volunteer was not there. Assignments were made. I look at the board, and there is my name under the COVID ICU. I take my time trying to get there. I pretend like I'm lost, maybe make a wrong turn. I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to fucking be there. But eventually I get there. There's a seasoned cardiac ICU nurse there giving me report. I think, holy shit, why would they be floated here? That nurse is too smart and they can run circles around heart surgery patients. Next to me is a group of respiratory therapists learning how to put on their cappers and getting signed off on the skills checklist. Nobody knew what they were doing. People were reading the instructions carefully. Eyes were wide open. You could sense when someone would lag behind in the instructions that the educator was giving, and they would fumble around with the helmet. It was like in the movie Saving Private Ryan, where this is an obscure reference, but just hear me out. There's a character named Upham. He is the translator. He's really nice, kind of nerdy, quiet, shy. Anyway, he's trying to collect all the things that he needs to go on this rescue mission to go save fucking Matt Damon. And he's fumbling around trying to get his typewriter, holding on to whatever he can, as if the combination of all those things will save him. That's how I felt in that COVID ICU, just like grabbing a capper and the battery and making sure that it connects right, and then looking at the colors of the battery indicator, and is my shield on right, and am I tying my gown right, and did I put two pairs of gloves? What did I tie the last part of the back of my gown? Are these shoes dirty? Do I need to clean them again? Did I already clean them? I felt like anything I did was just all a combo to the perfect panic attack. Anyway, I had never seen those respiratory therapists so afraid. Then the cardiac nurse that's giving me a report asked me, how anxious are you? I thought, oh fuck, you can see it? I must look so afraid. This is embarrassing. I said, a 3 out of 10? It was definitely a fucking 10. But I am a master at pretending I'm okay. I can take time away from their end of shift to talk about me, even though they're asking me how bad is my anxiety. There's no space or time for my feelings. Fuck that. I gotta keep it together for the other people. That's what I know what to do best. You don't need to worry about how anxious I am. I can carry my own anxiety very, very fucking well. That nurse said, take your time. There's no rush. You can only go at the speed that is safe to go. Everyone and everything else can wait. Just take your time. And my shift starts. I don't know where to begin. The ventilator screens and the IV pumps are outside the rooms. From outside, looking into my patient's room, you could see all of the IV lines going from the pumps outside, then hanging in the air like power lines, and then connected to their neck, to the jugular vein. I fumbled around while putting together a capper helmet, fucking aggressively disinfected my desk and keyboard and my chair and even my watch. Why did I bleach my watch? I don't know, but I did. I waited with so much anxiety for that desk to dry so I could put my report sheet on it and start looking at my patients. I already felt like I'm lagging behind. All the other nurses are already beyond this. They didn't even wipe their shit. But here I am thinking that this wiping down of my desk is gonna save me. And why do I invest so much time into this? I was panicking. I was fidgety and I was frantic. I did not know what the fuck I was doing. I did not want to go in. I wanted to stall while I could. I was not ready. We didn't know if the patient I had was COVID positive, but we were treating them like they were. The symptoms that brought them to the hospital were pretty COVID-y, to call it something. And now they are intubated, sedated, restrained at the wrists, and in a negative pressure room that nobody wanted to be in. I gathered my meds and whatever else I needed to bring into that room. I put on my helmet thing, my isolation gown, double gloves, and then I go into the room. It was so quiet in there. The only things I could hear were my fast and shallow breathing and the fan on my helmet. That constant hum eventually became a sound of safety for me. As I got closer to my patient, I remember thinking, this is what COVID looks like. This person probably has it. It's all over the news. It's what everybody's talking about. Nobody gets to see this. Nobody's here to actually witness it. It's making someone this sick and somehow I'm in front of it? Should I feel lucky? But my hyper awareness of what's going on in the room interrupted my thoughts, and now I'm looking at my patient without zoning out. I see they have tattoos. I see the breathing tube. Their lips are dry as fuck. There's drops of condensation inside the breathing tube right where it meets the teeth. And I think again, there it is. That's the fucking thing everyone everyone wants to be so far away from. Yet I am right here. I bet those drops are so infected. My patient has a new looking hospital bracelet. They hadn't even been admitted for that long and now they're intubated? Fuck. I put on a disposable stethoscope and attempt to listen to lung sounds. I can't hear anything. It's too loud in my head from the fan of the helmet. I then forget what else I need to do. What else do we do during a patient assessment? I don't fucking know. I don't care. I don't want to be here. But also, this is my patient and I can't just fucking leave. Fuck, I'm a fraud. I probably just want the recognition that I'm a cardiac nurse so everyone in my new grad cohort can admire me. So I can tell my dad, I am something. But when it comes to dealing with this, I fucking feel useless. I'm incapable. I'm afraid. I feel like there's no way I'm going to be able to fake it till I make it in here. I'm not going to last. I can't pretend I can do this. This is fucked. I didn't even want to move my head too much because I was afraid something might become unplugged in my helmet. And then I'm fucking balls deep in a COVID room with no protection. All this gear and training and I can't figure out what to do next. My preceptor would be so disappointed in me if they saw me just standing around directionless. I look at the door and there's no one outside looking in, judging. It's just me and my patient. By then, I hadn't even talked to my patient yet. And I've been in that room for what feels like 10 minutes. I immediately feel like shit again. Fuck, he needs to hear me say something. Maybe something encouraging? What would I want to hear? What if he somehow has awareness through all that sedation and he can actually hear me? Don't be stupid, Al. He can't hear you. I lean in to one side and say out loud, "My name is Al. I'm your nurse. You're in the ICU. You're in good hands." I pause and I wish that I had something else to say. I wish that I had something else that was more encouraging than "you're in good hands." This is a COVID patient and I wanted them to feel like they knew they were going to make it. The only thing I said after that was, "I'm going to give you medications and cleaned around your catheter." Well, that wasn't very encouraging, but I guess now I remember what the fuck I actually have to do. That was the worst patient assessment I may have ever done, ever. It was all over the place. I had no idea what I was doing. I forgot everything. All I could think is, I'm overwhelmed and I don't want to be here. In that ICU, every move was calculated. Going into those rooms, every time you had to go in, you wouldn't just go for one thing. You would cluster things. So you would cluster the glucose check, midnight medications, a turn, bring in a new mouth care kit, new pillowcases, a new gown, a clean trash bag, a pack of wipes. You're going to need another pack of wipes because your patient shit the bed and now he shit all over the pillowcase. So now you need another pillowcase and you also need a bottle of still water because you forgot it the first time around. Oh man, it was exhausting. Anyway, I finished that shift feeling defeated, mentally drained. I had a break after that shift and focused on school papers. I also focused on divorce papers. Looking back at April of 2020, I didn't have the emotional bandwidth to be invested in anything else other than not dying of a virus I caught at work. My divorce was submitted quickly. I moved to an apartment that had plumbing issues I didn't know about, but learned a week into being there. One day, water flooded out of my bathtub, and then shit water from my upstairs neighbors came out too. And there was literal shit all over my floor of my apartment. Out of the 10 things I owned, I lost probably 7 of them, including my mattress. It all had water damage. But guess what? I had to go back to work. That small 8-unit COVID wing was no more. That was my only shift there. My cardiac ICU was now the COVID unit. The rooms where I had taken care of so many patients that survived their heart surgeries. The rooms where I had my first CPR experience on a patient that didn't survive. It's the rooms where I learned how silence and presence sometimes is all you can offer to a grieving family member. It was the rooms where I helped people out of bed and onto a chair at 5 a.m. Why so early? So that the toxic, creepy, sexist, piece of shit riddled in HR complaints heart surgeon didn't lose their shit because a patient wasn't out of bed when he rounded. Those rooms were now converted into negative pressure rooms. The unit was empty and eerily quiet. There were no patients, no alarms, no beeps, no call lights, no phone calls coming in. The little shit radio that our unit clerk kept by the printer was off. It wasn't playing "Do you believe in love?" or whatever it would play. What is that? Bono? No, wait, what's her name? Cher. Anyway, yeah, it wasn't playing Cher or fucking any song. The lights were off except for the monitors in the middle where we would keep track of our patients' heart rates and whatnot. Those monitors were on and they were illuminating the nurse's station with a hint of blue. And just like that, with zero time to embrace the quietness of the unit, the lights went back on. That peaceful blue light that I was just talking about, it got flooded out by the bright ceiling lights. And now, in true Tiger King Joe Exotic fashion, guess what, motherfucker? Guess what, motherfucker? This is now the COVID ICU. Oh, you thought you were going to do cardiac patients? Oh, you thought you were going to wear your nice, pretty little figs and your Nikes or no, your New Balance. You know, they're going to color coordinate with your figs because they're Caribbean blue. And then you can get a little bit of Caribbean blue on your shoes. Joe Exotic comes in. Guess what, motherfucker? That's literally how that felt. When the lights went back on, everything went back to shit, and it was literally just Joe Exotic there to welcome you and telling you, guess what, motherfucker? Welcome to COVID. It's not like, I don't know. It's like can you imagine him like greeting you at Chili's? You're like going to Chili's with your family. Oh man, I can't wait for that molten chocolate cake. Can't wait for that fucking 2-for-1 mango margarita. Oh man, they're so watered down, but I cannot wait. It's going to be fantastic. And then you order what? I don't know, some like sugary chicken bullshit with like a side of corn, but this corn sucks and nothing has flavor. And then you realize that you're at Chili's and then you're like, fuck, what happened in my life that I am excited about a molten chocolate cake from Chili's? I mean, it doesn't take much to excite me. I get excited about a Baja Blast.
Baja Blast.
And a cheesy gordita crunch, no lettuce. Because who wants hot lettuce, dude? Taco Bell, get your shit together. This episode is not brought to you by Taco Bell, but if one day an episode is actually sponsored by Taco Bell, I will film the whole episode naked, covered in nacho cheese. That's the end of this episode. This is part 1 of my COVID story. Next week, we'll start unpacking how that unit that was my cardiac unit is now the COVID ICU and what happens after those lights went back on. It is total nightmare fuel just to remember what happened in that unit and the things that I saw and the things that I don't think I'm ever going to forget, and things that I haven't even like unpacked in therapy. It's like I'm fucking unpacking them right the fuck right now. But guess what? Guess what, motherfucker? It is 1:27 a.m. and I need to go to bed. And my dog needs to shit. I don't think he's pooped for like, I don't know, a long time. Pete. Hey, Pete. You doing okay, buddy? Yeah, you are. Yeah, he is. That little boy, the little poopy pants. I have a neighbor that calls him Mr. Pants. Anyway, talking a lot. Thank you all for listening. Much love and gratitude. Bye.